We are live this hour in Beirut, Ramallah in the occupied West Bank, Washington, D.C. and Iran's capital, Tehran, from where Al Jazeera's Ali Hashem joins us right now. Ali, what's the latest on the attacks throughout the day on Friday?
Well, I'll start from the latest announcement by the IRGC. They announced the 84th wave of attacks on Israel. It's been just announced now. Alongside, there have been several Israeli attacks on different cities across Iran, from the capital, Tehran, where at least 10 people were killed, towards the south of the city, mainly Jazeera. And, of course, Qom, 18 people were killed. To the north, Tabriz and Urumiyeh, a couple of attacks. Isfahan in the center, Khuzestan towards the to the west, Kashan in the center also. There's a big number of victims during this day. Also, just a couple of hours ago, the Israeli-American attacks on the steel factories in Isfahan and Khuzestan took place. Also, there have been an evacuation order for the city of Arak and the industrial city in Khairabad. So these are in general the latest from the field.
Ali, stay with us. Let's bring in our chief US correspondent, Alan Fisher. Alan, as we were saying a few moments ago, on Thursday, President Trump suggested that Iran had allowed 10 oil tankers to pass through the strait. He called it a present. Today, the IRGC says the strait is closed. What's going on?
Well, Donald Trump has said that talks are progressing, and they've been going quite well, because he has now postponed for the next 10 days the idea of attacking Iran's military infrastructure. But what we have seen from the US administration over the last 3 weeks is a bit of whiplash, particularly in the last week or so. Remember last Friday, Donald Trump sent out a social media message saying that the Iranians were looking for a deal and he wasn't willing to do anything at that point. Saturday, he announced that the Strait of Hormuz wasn't opened within 48 hours. Then there was the real possibility that he was going to order an attack targeting that energy infrastructure. And then on Monday we heard that there was a peace deal, during the possibility of a peace deal, rather. Then during the cabinet meeting on Thursday, we got some indication of what's going on behind the scenes. 15-point plan presented through the Pakistanis to the Iranians had got a positive reaction. And Donald Trump, late on Thursday, then said that he was postponing any future action on the energy infrastructure for another 10 days. That doesn't stop them continuing attacks across Iran, and they are ongoing. Also doesn't stop them moving troops into the area. That is ongoing, and the numbers there are also increasing. But you have to watch this hour by hour, day by day. Certainly when it came to the Strait of Hormuz, Donald Trump said the fact that the tankers were allowed to go through with no problems at all gave him an indication that the person they were speaking to in Iran had power and had influence, and that is why they were continuing with the talks to end this conflict.
All right, let's get back to Ali in Tehran on that. The IRGC says the Strait of Hormuz is closed and that any transit through the waterway will face harsh measures. Does that include vessels that are carrying what Iran considers to be a friendly flag that it had been allowing through the strait?
Well, it's been clear, especially from what we've been hearing from the IRGC or the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, there's an establishment policy here in Iran that the Strait of Hormuz is close to the what they describe as the enemies and the allies of the enemies of Iran, and that whoever wants to pass through this strait should coordinate with the Iranian authorities. We had the foreign ministry saying it in a different way. The strait is open except for the enemies of Iran. The IRGC is saying it's closed, that whoever wants to pass can coordinate with Iran. This is all under what Mujtaba Khamenei, the new supreme leader of Iran, said, or at least was written in the statement that he issued at the beginning of his reign. So what we know now is that there are several vessels passing, but these vessels are coordinating with the Iranians. We've heard of vessels from different countries, China, Pakistan, and actually the ones I think President Trump was mentioning were Pakistani vessels, the ones that passed through the strait. So It's mainly about coordination. This is how the Iranian government and the Iranian establishment is framing. But at the end, the strait is not open like it was before.
Alan, the impact on the economy weighing particularly on President Trump's mind right now. He's due to be meeting farmers within the next 90 minutes or so. They've been particularly hard hit. What can he say to reassure them?
Well, this was, we are told, planned before the war in Iran. There are a number of tractors over on the South Lawn, not far from where I'm standing, ready for the event, which will kick off in an hour or so. Donald Trump feels that the farmers have had a hard time, that countries have particularly targeted the American agriculture sector. People will say that tariffs have hit them particularly hard, and he wants to see some level of subsidy and a degree of help, which he'll announce in the next couple of hours, to American farmers. But even though it was planned before the war in Iran, there's no doubt that that will come up, simply because farmers are feeling the strain, like many people in this country. They realise that fuel prices are higher, so that adds to their costs, that fertiliser isn't getting through, and we're coming up to the growing season. That could reduce yields and cause them real problems later in the year. And it's a real stark reminder right there in the face for Donald Trump that this war has an economic cost, and it's an economic cost that people are struggling to pay, and it may mean that he will have to pay for it when it comes to midterms later this year.
Al Jazeera's chief US correspondent Alan Fisher and Ali Hashem, many thanks to you both.